Welcome to episode number 17 of the Blitz Take. I am here with Breezie from 49ers Web Zone, and I'm interested to hear what he has to say about the 49ers and everything beside that. So, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it, man. Uh, you know, the 49ers, they seem to that they're going to be a fun team to watch this year if all goes, all fares well for them. If they stay injury free, they're going to be fun. And all the excitement is around number 5, Mr. I got 5 on it himself, Trey Lance, and the 49ers have made that transition, going forward. They're moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo, even though he's still in the building, even though he's still on the roster, even though he's still there. They've made the decision to move forward. You heard that from the head coach, Kyle Shanahan, as well as John Lynch. So I'm super excited for this season to see what it is that Trey Lance brings to the table. It's definitely going to be a different dynamic when it comes to football because that's who Trey Lance is. And then the team is built, right? So the team is still stacked. They brought back weapons. They got Deebo Samuel signed for an extension for another 3 years. So I'm really excited to see what this team is going to be like when they go out and play. And if you ask me whether are there any caveats, any things I'm worried about, I mean, yeah, that's another story. We can talk about that in another question. But I'm really excited to watch this team play.
So, my first question is, what were your thoughts on the first 2 preseason games against Green Bay and Minnesota?
The first game, there was things to take from it, right? Because Trey Lance got to play a couple of series. You watched them not convert on their first series, and then on the second series, they were able to get a touchdown. So, like, it's Kyle Shanahan. It's vanilla. Everything is kind of like watered down, basic. But the kid just dropped back, took a shot, and threw it down the field to a wide open wide receiver. And for me, it's just something that I'm not used to seeing. I don't think I've seen that since the 90s. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really cool to have that element of the game, the deep pass game with the speed of the wide receiver who can beat a safety, he could beat a cornerback on a 9 route, get down there, and the quarterback just got to, throw the ball. So it was really good. I liked the first game. The second game was good as far as evaluating depth, right? Who's gonna make this roster? Who are some guys that might not start, but that are gonna complement the starters? That's what the second game was all about. So it was good, man, because I think I found a few diamond in the roughs from the Minnesota Vikings game, and I talked about that on my podcast yesterday.
Who has been the most that most stood out to you during practices in the games for preseason?
Well, Brandon Ayuk, I would say, is the guy that the stock is like all the way up on, right? Like he's the guy that was building his chemistry with Trey Lance in the offseason. They were out there, I made a joke about it. I said, when your quarterback, when another person can call you a milk dud, you guys got a relationship. There's some chemistry there. And if you don't know what milk duds are, they're these little chocolate candies that they're kind of chewy, once you, kind of like put them in your mouth. So that it was like a funny joke. But no, like Brandon Ayuk is like the talk of the town. He has this different type of dog in him. And you're going out there and you're watching a guy demanding the ball, commanding the ball, like throwing wherever you put the ball, he's trying to find a place to catch it. Like I'm so not used to seeing that. And like I said, I just think it was just things he had to learn. The system he had to get acclimated to who Kyle Shanahan was, coming out of Arizona State. And so I think Brandon Ayuk, man, is going to be like a breath of fresh air. And I think he is the guy that's going to break out this season.
What are your thoughts on the season opener at Chicago?
At Chicago. Now, I'll be there. With a lot of the 49er faithful in Chicago. Matter of fact, we're doing a weekend's worth of partying and content creating with my brother John Chapman, the 49ers Rush podcast. We're going to be out there in Chicago, turning it up, taking over the city. You know how we do as the faithful. But the game, man, is going to be a game, and Trey Lance versus Justin Fields, right? Like two top quarterbacks that got picked in that 2021 draft. So it's going to be something that you want to watch. Now, the last time these two teams played, it was Jimmy Garoppolo versus Justin Fields. And Jimmy had a day, right? Jimmy went out there and was like, you know what, this is my hometown. I'm gonna go out there and put it on for my city. But it's gonna be Trey Lance's first game starting as a quarterback, at the beginning of a season. And I think he's gonna go out there and just really, put a stamp on it, like make a name for himself. Like, which Trey Lance are you gonna be? You're gonna guys gonna go out there and set the story, set the tone, and write your own script, or are you gonna let the game kind of write the script for you? And just by looking at Trey Lance and getting to know who he is, he's a script setter. He's gonna go out there and kind of like set the tone. So I'm excited to see what's gonna go down. I feel like the 49ers favor just about in every category, but you know that saying any given Sunday, you know what I'm saying? So anything can happen on a Sunday, but I'm excited to see what's going to go down.
What are your thoughts on the offensive defense?
So the offense, I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's what I wanted to get into because I was saying to myself, oh man, this offense might be, will it be stagnant? I would think not because you have a guy like an ad-libber like Trey Lance who can kind of like extend plays and make things happen. And then, um, you know, my only concerns with the offense is the offensive line. I think that's where it's going to kind of, it's going to get a little, it's going to take a little time for it to gel, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
you got one starting offensive lineman that you got back there, and that is, the all-pro Trent Williams at left tackle. And then it's second year Aaron Banks. It's third, fourth year Jake Brendo at the center, who's never started and played center in the NFL, right? He's always been a guy on the team. He's drafted as a center, but he never got a chance to play. And then you're going to the right side. Daniel Brunskill is hurt. So now you got, the rookie Spencer Burford, who's been stepping up and been doing really well, who's one of my diamonds in the roughs. And then on the right tackle, that's where that question mark comes in again, because now it's like, oh snap, like what are we gonna do? Because Mike McGlinchey may be hurt. So it's a weird vibe on this offensive line. But you know what? The 49ers, after this preseason game on tomorrow night against the Houston Texans, they're going to have, 17 days to kind of like really not makeshift the line, but really kind of like iron it out. Put that first team offensive line unit out there. And as long as they stay healthy, they have 17 days to build continuity. I think that's 2.5 weeks. I think that's more than enough time to kind of like learn each other's lingo and all that type of stuff, mannerisms and things like that. Learn how to communicate. So I think they're going to be fine because they're led by Trent Williams. And, I think the offensive line is going to eventually, they're just going to need a little bit of time to gel. And that's why I like playing Chicago first. It's not a team that not saying you have to worry about Chicago, but, they're not a team that's going to be firing on all cylinders. So the 49ers may be able to go out there, not experiment, but definitely like get into some type of a rhythm. The defense, though, because you did ask about the defense, I think the 49ers have the best defense in the league. And just from a defensive stand alone, the 49ers are built on every level, and they're really stacked on the most important level, which is the defensive line. And so one of the issues with the 49ers was always trying to figure out, like, how are they going to have the depth? Is the depth going to be right? Because guys can't play every play. And so when your Nick Bosa's, your Eric Armstead's, your starting guys, they start to run out of gas, who can you replace them with? And I think the 49ers went out and made sure that they brought in a bunch of guys that are athletic, that are fast, that are agile, that have moves, and that can do one thing only and get to the quarterback. And so, with guys like Samson Ebukam, Charles Omenihu, those guys that were here last year, it's going to be their second year in the system. I'm expecting them to be better. And then you bring in guys like Kamoko Toure, Kerry Harder you bring back to the system. So there's going to be some solid depth on a defensive line. And if your defensive line is getting to the quarterback, that helps the secondary. And then I think we have the best linebackers in the game. I'm not trying to be a homer, but you're talking Al Shire, Dre Greenlaw, and Fred Warner. I think they're the best linebacking trio in the game. And I think the only question mark for me is going to be in that secondary at the safety position, because I think our cornerbacks are going to be fine. They went and signed Travarius Ward in the offseason. You're bringing in a lockdown corner that likes to play pressed man. And then on the opposite side, you got Emmanuel Thomas, who looked healthy as heck when he came back to practice this week. So, look, the 49ers secondary is good. They are going to be missing Jimmy Ward. Not sure how long. That's their top safety. So that's going to be an area. If I'm an offense, I'm trying to attack the safeties, trying to attack the middle of the field.
So my next question is, what are your thoughts on October 3rd when you guys have to play the Rams?
Ah, yeah, they're coming up north. I believe we're playing them at home first. Then it's crazy because like 2 weeks later we go to LA. So it's so weird, right?
Yeah.
3 weeks later, I think. And so my thoughts are it's going to be a game. It's always going to be a game. The 49ers typically during the regular season have the Rams number. It's not a game that I don't want to say I don't worry about it, but I just feel like Kyle Shanahan has Sean McVay's number. Now, Sean got a couple of tricks up his sleeve, but the 49ers, like I said, they improved on defense. And the one thing that I know that they were good at doing was nullifying like Aaron Donald, who was the best defensive player in the game. They were good at nullifying him and then the Rams went and picked up Von Miller midseason last year, and that was the key. And when they picked up Von Miller, even though we still beat them, we knew if we saw them again, Von Miller was going to have a game. In the NFC Championship, Von Miller had a game. It allowed Aaron Donald to just beat Aaron Donald, and it was a problem. They were stunting all over the place. I think the game is going to be Thriller in Manila. It's the NFC West showdown. It's the 49ers, it's the Rams. The Seahawks are down. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be that great. And so it's going to come down to one of those two teams again in the NFC.
What are your thoughts on Trey Sermon and Jordan Mason?
I like these guys. So Trey Sermon, man. So I had Trey Sermon was the guy that I had the 49ers drafting out of all the quarterbacks. And the reason why I kept, my faith and my processing on him was because he was different than all the other quarterbacks. He was unique. So what do I mean by being unique? Well, he was probably the best at, lining up in a pro style offense. And if you don't know what pro style offense is, to those that are out there watching and listening, it's when you kind of like you line up under center, And Justin Fields was a shotgun guy. I tell you what, people were asking about Trey Sermon for the 49ers. Why is he struggling? And it's probably because he doesn't have Justin Fields, right? Like they were match made in heaven because they ran that offense out of the Ohio State. Trey Lance, though, on the other hand, is a pro style. He's looking to throw the ball first. I don't want people to get it confused. He's not a running quarterback. He's a quarterback that can run. So there's a big difference, right? Russell Wilson, quarterbacks that can run. Kyler Murray, quarterback that can run. Like these guys are quarterbacks that can run. They're not running quarterbacks. Even Lamar Jackson, I know he can rush, but that dude can throw the ball as well. These guys are quarterbacks. And so I don't want it to get it misconstrued when they talk about Trey Lance. Oh, he's an RG3. No, he's not an RG3. He's a Trey Lance. So I'm super hyped for him. I think he's going to go out there and do well. He's going to make mistakes, but I think he knows how to bounce back from his mistakes. I think he knows how to recoup from his mistakes. And I think he has a great support cast to help lift him up from his mistakes. I think that's what's really cool about Trey Lance in this particular type of situation, because the expectations are high for the kid, right? You got to go out there and win. Everybody wants the 49ers back in the playoffs. Everybody wants the 49ers in the Super Bowl this time. It's like Super Bowl or bust from a lot of the fan base. So the Trey Lance got to go out there and do his thing. And I believe he's built to do just that. As far as Jordan Mason, man, Jordan Mason is one of my diamonds in the roughs. This cat, undrafted kid out of Georgia Tech, didn't run the fastest 40, had to split time in Georgia Tech with another star running back. It was probably one of the reasons why he got overshadowed and overlooked. And I just want to put this out there. When you're undrafted, the teams don't choose you, you choose the team. So you're the free agent. You can go where you choose to go. He chose San Francisco. I think that means a lot. They're giving him an opportunity for sure. He's not going to be making a lot of money, but Jordan Mason in preseason has been the best running back for the 49ers. It's no different than what we saw last year with Elijah Mitchell surging to the top. I don't think Elijah Mitchell would have been the starting running back had Raheem Mostert been healthy, But man, it would have been nice to switch that up with Mitchell and Raheem Mostert. Two different gears and speed, but man, it would have been nice. Now I think this year's Mitchell, and who we're going to mix it up with. That's the story, man. That's the story right there, because we have a nice plethora of running backs, and it's hard to let any of them go.
So do you think Willie Snead will make the cut?
I don't think Willie Snead's going to make the cut. He came into camp late, and he, in my opinion, he has to outshine two guys,
Mm-hmm.
and those two guys are Marcus Johnson and Malik Turner. And if Willie Snead doesn't do something special on special teams, I don't think he makes the roster. I do think the 49ers keep him in that Rolodex because now he's gotten to work out with the 49ers, and God forbid there's some type of an injury that goes down. Willie Snead will probably be one of the wide receivers that they call on first. But as far as the 49ers are concerned, I think they feel like they got their vets in the room. They got the Deebo Samuel, even Brandon Ayuk is sounding like a leader out there, even though he's only in his third year. So I think the 49ers are pretty straight, and you got Ray and Jawan. But when it comes down to that six wide receiver, because Danny Gray is going to be on this roster, I think it's going to come down to those two, the Johnson and Turner.
How bad is Jordan Matthews injured?
Yeah, Jordan Matthews is actually on the IR, so he's not going to be able to play this season. He got placed on IR. If you get placed on IR before like the 53 cut, like you're out for the year. So unfortunately, he tore his ACL and he's going to be out for the season. But he was having probably the best camp out of the tight ends. Obviously, out of other than George Kittle. George Kittle didn't really practice much at the very beginning of training camp, but Jordan Mason was having a camp. And unfortunately, he tore his ACL in his knee.
So my last question is, what is your prediction for the regular season?
Where did I have the 49ers going? Oh my gosh, I made the prediction so long ago. That's a good question. I want to say I had us going 11-6 or 12-5. One of them two. It's one of those two. Yeah. I haven't went in the NFC West though.
Should be interesting to see how your prediction goes. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on to talk 49ers football. And I'll definitely have you back on, maybe to recap a game.
Oh, that would be perfect, man. I would love that. Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
All right, man. Peace.